Whether you're a beginner or you have already started using the language, understanding French grammar is pretty crucial for fluency. Today we're going to break it all down in a simple, digestible way. This guide is designed to give you a strong foundation in less than 30 minutes. By the end, you will feel much more confident about French grammar and you will know how to apply these rules in everyday conversations. Stick with me and we will cover everything you need to know about nouns, verbs, tenses, pronouns, adjectives, and more. Let's dive in and get started. We need to talk about gender, for French nouns. As you know, every noun in French is either masculine or feminine. A croissant is a he. A baguette is a she. Does it make sense? No. But is there a rule that you can learn to make sure you don't make mistakes? Also, no. The gender of French nouns mostly changes their articles. Le and la, un and une. We say la fille for the girl and le garçon for the boy. We say un homme for a man and une femme for a woman. That's why when you practice French vocabulary, you need to learn the nouns with their articles. For example, le café, le métro, un restaurant. La pizza, la musique, une photo. The plural is easier. It's the same for both genders, les and des. Les cafés, les photos are the coffees and the photos. Des femmes, des garçons, some women, some boys. Let's do a quick game now. Guess the gender of a hand, for main. A foot, we say pied. A house, that's maison. And a ham, that's jambon. What do you think? I will give you 5 seconds. Yes, it is la main for the hand, that's feminine. Le pied for the foot, that's masculine. Une maison for a house, feminine. Un jambon for a ham, that's masculine. Gender also impacts our adjectives. Un garçon intelligent is a smart boy. Une fille intelligente is a smart girl. An adjective with a masculine noun is masculine, like grand for tall, petit for small, vert for green, rouge for red, beau for handsome. An adjective with a feminine noun is feminine, like grande for tall. In French, to turn something feminine, you often only need to add an e at the end, okay? Petite for small, verte for green, rouge for red. And if there is already an e at the end, it stays the same, okay? Belle for beautiful. Yes, many adjectives are irregular. Are you with me so far? Okay, then tell me what's the masculine or the feminine of fort for strong. What's the feminine of that? Incroyable for incredible. What's the masculine of that? Heureux for happy. What's the feminine of that? Okay, you think you got it? 5 seconds again. Yes, it was forte. Remember in the feminine form we add an e at the end. Incroyable. There is already an e in the masculine form, so that's okay. Heureuse. That's irregular because we have a silent X that often turns into SE in the feminine. Did you get that? By the way, adjectives mostly go after the noun in French, like un garçon intelligent, as we've seen. The main exceptions here, because there are always exceptions, are the bags adjectives. Beauty, age, goodness, and size. For beauty, un beau garçon, a handsome boy. Age, une vieille maison for an old house. Goodness, un bon jambon, a good ham. And size, un petit pied for a small foot. Okay? So, how would you say a green ham or a big house? Can you tell? Yes, it is un jambon vert. Here the adjective comes after the noun. Une grande maison. Here we have an adjective for size, big, so it comes before the noun. Honestly, French people do not know this rule exists. They wouldn't be able to tell it explicitly, and yet we all follow it. Otherwise, it would just sound weird. So we don't know the rule, but we apply it. And now I want to mention that special rule about the plural as well. You know, in French, when masculine and feminine nouns are together, then the group is considered masculine. Let's start with the basics. Des garçons and des filles, some boys and some girls. And les garçons and les filles, the boys and the girls.
Tous les garçons et les filles de mon âge font ensemble des projets d'avenir.
The plural often means adding a silent S at the end of the word, like les garçons intelligents, that's masculine plural. Les filles intelligentes, feminine plural. And here comes the rule I mentioned. We write des garçons et des filles intéressants. Interesting boys and girls. When there are girls and boys, then intéressant is in the masculine plural. The masculine wins out. It's the final rule of French gender that combines everything you learned before. Gender of nouns, adjectives, singular and plural. And there is another lesson here for you, and that's very important. Even among French speakers, we make mistakes, or we disregard the rules of correct grammar, or we might even disagree with them. In fact, this particular rule about the masculine plural of mixed gender groups has gotten some interesting discussions in recent years. Some groups have been exploring alternative ways to handle this grammar point, mostly in feminist circles. Different French speakers will give you different perspectives. And I love this. But here is the most important thing for you as a learner. Don't let any of this stress you out. Even native French speakers make mistakes with grammar and with everything else we're going to see today. And we know the language is complicated, especially the gender of nouns, so we will completely understand your struggle. You will need to learn each noun with this article, like le jambon and la maison, but you will make mistakes now and then, even at a very advanced level. The key is to keep practicing, stay patient with yourself, and focus on communication rather than exactly correct grammar. Okay, now let's talk about something that everybody can agree on, pronouns. Pronouns are words that replace nouns. There are different kinds of pronouns. For now, let's stick to subject pronouns, like he and she in English. In French, we have je, that's I. We have tu for you in an informal way for friends and family. We have il and elle for he and she. We have nous, that's we as a group. Vous, that's a you, that's also formal singular you for strangers or plural for anyone. And il, that's they, for groups with at least one masculine, or elle, that's they, for all feminine groups. We also have on, that's the informal we in the third person. I will leave it aside because I made a whole video about on in everyday spoken French. Instead, remember what we learned about gender? It follows us here as well. When we talk about le café, that's masculine, we say il, he. When we talk about la pizza, that's feminine, we say elle, she. Let's play with some examples. Le café, il est chaud. Le café, il est chaud. The coffee is hot. La pizza, elle est chaude. La pizza, elle est chaude. The pizza, it's hot. And now let's get to the fun part. The verbs. With nouns, adjectives, pronouns, and verbs, you can start creating nice French sentences. Unlike in English, French verbs change their ending depending on who is doing the action. Let's take the verb être, to be, as an example. Je suis is I am, je suis. Tu es, you are, tu es. Il or elle est, for he, she, or it is. Nous sommes, for we are. Vous êtes, for you are. Ils or elles sont, for they are. I know what you're thinking. Géraldine, that's a lot of different endings. And you're right, but here is some good news. Most verbs follow a much simpler pattern. Let's look at a regular ER verb like danser. Danser is to dance. Je danse, tu danses, il or elle danse, nous dansons, vous dansez, il or elle danse. You see? It's much more consistent. The endings follow a pattern. So we have and that's a silent Then we have es with the silent s. We have again. Then we have ons. Here we have a nasal sound on and a silent s at the end. On. Then we have ez. It's a e sound with a silent z at the end. E. And then at the end we have ent for il and elle. Ent. And here it's silent, like the at the beginning. Ent. Here it's silent. Yes, many of these endings sound exactly the same. Only nous and vous are different. And in informal French, we use the third person on instead of nous. We say on danse. Now a quick game. Can you conjugate aimer? That's to like or to love. Take a moment, okay? Did you get it? Okay, here's what it should be. J'aime, tu aimes, il or elle aime, nous aimons, vous aimez, il or elles aiment. Here we have a verb that starts with a vowel. So we can notice how je becomes j apostrophe. It's j'aime and not je aime. Also, you can notice the silent s at the end of nous, vous, and the plural il and s. Now, they sound like a the sound, okay? Nous aimons, vous aimez, elles aiment. That's what we call la liaison. And I also made a whole free lesson on this trap of French pronunciation. Now let's put everything together to make our first complete sentence, like tu es intelligent, you are smart. Tu es intelligent. Je suis une femme, I'm a woman. Elle aime le jambon, she likes ham. Then you can learn some adverbs to place after the verb, like bien for well, bien. Beaucoup for a lot. Here notice that EAU sound like O in beaucoup. And we also have a silent P at the end. We don't say beaucoup, we say beaucoup. We also have souvent for often. And the list goes on and on and on. You will learn them one by one with practice while creating sentences. So, how would you say you dance well to a friend? He likes to dance. The girls and the boys are happy. Can you guess it? I will give you 5 seconds again. Yes, it is tu danses bien, tu danses bien. Il aime danser. Il aime danser. Here we use the infinitive of the verb. Il aime danser. Les filles et les garçons sont heureux. Here remember, it is the masculine plural. Now you have all the basic tools to create your first French sentences. Don't worry if you feel a bit overwhelmed. We will practice more as we go along. Let's quickly cover how to make questions and negations in everyday spoken French too. I could spend a lot of time with the correct grammar for these cases. Indeed, I made free lessons on each of these topics. But my point here is that you don't need to worry about all the formal correct grammar rules right now. You can decide to practice everyday spoken French instead, the kind you will actually use when buying a baguette at a random Parisian boulangerie or chatting with locals at a cafe in Provence. For example, with our previous sentences, il danse bien and tu aimes le jambon. You don't need to learn all the complicated structures like est-ce qu'il danse bien? Or danse-t-il bien? Or the formal negations il ne danse pas bien or tu n'aimes pas le jambon. In real everyday spoken French, it's much simpler. For questions, just use your normal sentence with a rising intonation at the end. For negations, just add pas after the verb. Yes, we often drop the ne. So it becomes tu aimes danser? Tu aimes danser? For do you like dancing? And il danse pas bien, for he doesn't dance well. Il danse pas bien. Tu aimes pas le jambon, for you don't like ham. Tu aimes pas le jambon. See how much easier that is. This is the French that you will hear on the streets, in cafes, and in casual conversations. You can learn more formal structures later, but for now, these simple forms will help you start speaking with confidence. Now, if you want to start talking about something that already happened or something that's going to happen, what do? Let's time travel a bit. For the past, we mainly use two tenses in spoken French. Le passé composé for completed actions, le passé composé, and l'imparfait for ongoing situations or habits in the past. Let's start with le passé composé because you will use it the most in everyday conversations. It's made of two parts. We have the verb avoir, or sometimes être in the present, and the past participle of your main verb. It's built like the present perfect in English. You know, I have done, they have left, etc. The verb avoir, to have, is an irregular verb, but you need to learn it by heart, at least in the present. It's j'ai for I have, j'ai. Tu as for you have in the singular form. Il or elle a, he or she has. Nous avons for we have. Vous avez for you have. Ils or elles ont for they have. Ils or elles ont. Okay? It's a really short verb. J'ai, tu as, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. Okay. Now you need to get a past participle. For our verbs in ER, like danser, it's pretty simple. Take off the ER. Add E, that's E accent aigu, and that's it. You get danser. So I danced becomes j'ai dansé. Tu as dansé, il or elle a dansé, nous avons dansé, vous avez dansé, ils or elles ont dansé. Can you guess how to say she danced well? Can you guess? Yeah, it is elle a bien dansé. Elle a bien dansé. Now, some verbs use être instead of avoir. The main ones are verbs of movement, like aller, to go, is je suis allé, I went. Venir, to come, is tu es venu, you came. Partir, to leave, partir makes elle est partie, she left. Notice how with être, the past participle agrees with the gender of the subject. That's not the case with avoir, except in some exceptions that I won't cover today. Anyway, don't worry too much about it. As you can see, most of the time it sounds the same anyway. Quick game. How would you say did they like or did they like it? Can you guess? Did they like? It is ils ont aimé, because it's a question. Ils ont aimé or elles ont aimé. Elles ont aimé. If there is no man in the group here. You can see the subject plus avoir in the present plus the past participle. The imparfait is different. We use it for describing situations that were ongoing in the past, like we were dancing or the house was big. You build the imparfait by picking a verb in the present, taking the nous form, that dansons, drop the on, add ion, ye, and that's it. Okay, so, for example, danser is nous dansons in the nous form. Then we add the ending for je, or tu, or elle, etc. And it becomes je dansais, tu dansais, elle dansait, vous dansiez, nous dansions, elle dansait. So, quick, tell me, how would you say in French, we were dancing, the house was big? Yeah? Can you guess it? It is nous dansions or on dansait and la maison était grande. Often you will use imparfait and passé composé together to tell a story. In this story, l'imparfait is a situation while le passé composé is an event. For instance, il pleuvait, that's imparfait. Quand je suis sortie, that's passé composé. It was raining when I went out. Il pleuvait quand je suis sortie. Il pleuvait quand je suis sortie. And for the future, well, there is an official real future tense, but in everyday French we often use what we call the near future. That is much simpler. It's aller, to go in the present, and then we add the infinitive. It literally means I am going to. You need to learn one last irregular verb, yes? That's aller. Aller is the key to the tense of the near future. It's je vais, tu vas, elle va, nous allons, vous allez, ils vont. For example, je vais danser, I'm going to dance, or simply I will dance. Je vais danser. Tu vas danser. Elle va danser. Nous allons danser. Vous allez danser. Elles vont danser. And that's a good way to learn the near future tense in French. Quick practice. Before we wrap up, let's play one final game. I will say something in English and you try to translate it before I give you the answer. Ready? Juliette is happy. Juliette est heureuse. She danced a lot. Elle a beaucoup dansé. She will love Paris. Can you guess? Elle va aimer Paris. Bravo! Congratulations! You've just covered some foundations of French grammar in a record time. Obviously, there is still a lot you can learn, but the key is to learn the basics and then use it to communicate. Have fun and practice regularly. Then you will learn the rest bit by bit. That's where the real magic happens. Now that you've got a solid foundation, why not put it into action? I invite you to join my 30-day French challenge, Paris Like a Local, starting on January 1st, 2025. In this challenge, you will practice real-world French, immerse yourself in the culture, and by the end of the month, you will feel like you're ready to navigate Paris as if you've lived there your whole life. Sign up below as soon as possible because we close the doors on December 31st. I can't wait to see you in the challenges. À bientôt.